A2IM, the collective voice of independent music.
So my name is Robert Perlick-Molinari. I'm the head of label and A&R at YouTooCanWoo, and all of our sub-labels and the brands that we have at YouTooCanWoo. Tell you a little bit about what we are and what we do. We've been around since grade school because it's me and my brother. So we've been making music for as long as we can remember. And the name YouTooCanWoo started when David was a high schooler trying to make demos for his friends. Like, you can make something cool too. It's possible for anybody to make something cool. So that's kind of how we started in the very beginning. And fast forward many, many years. And in about 2008, my brother and I decided to start an artist project called French Horn Rebellion. And French Horn Rebellion, we were really lucky, able to tour the world. We were, lots of downloads, streams, charts, whatever. We played on 5 continents, and we're on a bunch of fun labels like Kitsune. So there's a lot of experience there going on the road, a lot of tours. And, so while we were doing this French Horn Rebellion thing, my brother David had always focused on the production studio back in New York City, and most of our releases were independent. So I started doing all of the self-releasing of the music, talking to publicists and radio people and trying to find things that work and things that don't work, and trying social media content and just trying everything and anything. And so those two things were kind of growing simultaneously. And around 2012, my brother actually, with the help of me and his wife and my sister-in-law, Deidre Muro, actually built a physical space, music studio in Williamsburg, on Grand between Barry and Wythe. If it was in the pre-pandemic times, I would say, come on by, say hello. Unfortunately, the studio is temporarily closed to the public, but it was created in 2012, and we built it out. And it wasn't until 2014 that the current kind of business model sort of started to happen. So that's a little bit about how we got of where we were, a little bit of a run up. And so in 2014, the idea was that we're just hustling project to project. This isn't sustainable. It's a lot of work, and it's very individualistic. I think a lot of times in the music industry, especially on the artist level or producer level, it's kind of like, oh, well, my friend got on Billboard today, and then it's like a rivalry. Like, I can't believe they got on Billboard, and our project that we produced didn't get on Billboard. And I think that kind of underlying feeling of competition towards others wasn't right. So what we did in trying to make something more sustainable was create a collective. So we brought on some of our family and friends that we'd known for a very long time that were doing music, and brought them in as a collective. So everybody, whatever projects they're doing, they would bring them into the studio pot, and then the pot would share all of the expenses. So that's production people, kind of behind the scenes people, doing data entry and processes and spreadsheets and all that good stuff. So creating that, sharing that, and then everybody getting a salary, a sustainable salary out of the business that wasn't based on the latest project. So that started in 2014, and that was with my brother. Started it with a few of his friends and associates while I was still in French Horn Rebellion. And then around 2016, they were ready to have a label. So the studio had always been doing projects for artists, and the types of projects that the studio does now are all sorts of stuff for TV, film, video games, music. Like, some of our big claim to fame is we did the early MGMT stuff, but we've worked with artists like Francis and the Lights and Purple Disco Machine and Autograph, and a lot on the artist side. But on the studio side, we scored the music for AAA rated video game Just Cause 4, which was a huge project. Took about 2 years of work to finish, and it has been announced that we're working on even more video game work in the next 2 years. similar type of projects. And we also been doing a lot of branding work. So Station ID, like we just this afternoon, the Webby Awards, all their in-show branding and Sonic ID, we did it at the studio. And so anyways, let's see here. So there's a lot of experimentation. As of 2016, the crew that was doing this type of work wanted to create a real label, like a label that had back end, that was able to pay royalties, that was able to sign artists, but also work with the music that the studio is working on for these projects, which would be like I was saying, a lot of branding stuff, but a lot of the stuff was really good. So that's where we are now. That's what we've been doing. Now, 2019, we launched our sub-brands of labels, which is Toucan Sounds and Sunken Living Room. So I guess that's kind of like the story of the studio, where we've been, what we're doing, and kind of where we're going. And I think if you know about the studio, it is a bit unique in what we're doing, because we're doing all this different type of music for a lot of different clients, and a lot of different projects, and a lot of different needs and customer bases. And so I think when you think about these things, the customer changes, but I think the underlying foundations of what our business does are pretty much the same across the board. I think the number one thing that we have at the studio is white glove service. So we like to say we help people find the woo. That's why it's YouTooCanWoo. What is the woo? I don't know. Nobody knows what the woo. You got to ask David, or I don't even think he knows what the woo is. Nobody knows what the woo is. It's kind of like that special sauce that's that magical combination of music, of sound, of feeling, and it's hard for anybody to find it, but I think what we do is we try to find it in somebody else. So we try to help somebody discover it for themselves, what it is that they're trying to achieve. And that can mean, for example, we've done for several years in a row the NBC Universal yearly event at Radio City Music Hall. We do all the music and the sound. And so in that instance, you go to the CEO of NBC Universal and you say, well, what's the woo for NBC Universal? We don't say it like that, but I think it's a process, and to be able to lead people from the very beginning to the very end of the process is kind of what we have that we do that I think is difficult to replicate, and what has brought us a lot of success. And so you can have white glove service, and you can continue to do these projects over and over again. For a big video game, or for like we did the Spotify, branding identity, or if you're working on a project for the Knox, which is like a New York City DJ duo, it's all the same service. What do you need? What do you want? How do we get it there? How do we discover that? And the question is, how do you create that, environment? How do you create that service to be able to make it something that people feel like they need to get, or that they need it to complete the project that they're working on? And I think that the way that we've been able to achieve this is maybe a little bit unorthodox, which might be interesting for the group, is we make a big effort to have an environment of collaboration at the studio that is real and honest, and it's about people. It's about longevity. It's about the good things like values and ethics and, what's important in life, things like family and community. And because as we all know, the music industry and the arts can be really chaotic. It can be difficult to find a life balance and making sure that you're doing the right things that are within your value structure over and over and over again. And so how do we do that? Well, we place value on people's individual projects, what they're doing creatively, taking seriously people's ideas and collaborate, expressions. So that balance creates an environment which is normally an open door before the pandemic, where people can come in, collaborate. We host sessions. We host a lot of people that just come through and make music for, their solo projects or for somebody else's project, or a lot of publishing co-writes, that type of thing. So we're doing the arts work with real artists, real people in the city, trying to enable what they want to do with their projects, and then applying those same things to the biggest brands in the world. So it's that white glove service, the same service, and it applies across the studio. I think what gets confusing to folks when they see the studio on the outside is, what do you guys do? So we've been working the last 2 years, especially the last year, to try to differentiate what these brands are and what they mean to the customer, while using that same white glove service and using the environment of collaboration that we've created at the studio that is very unique. And those vehicles are YouTooCanWoo, which is what we talked about, which is the name of the studio. So YouTooCanWoo is all projects now that just have to do with composition for film, TV, video games, custom work, sound design, all that kind of stuff. So, and then the other half is the record label. And so record label is what I'm in charge of. And it's been a long journey to get here, but this is how the company works. And the record label has brands that are specific to customers, listeners, So the customer base for the production studio is totally different from the customer base of what is going to be the artist, like a listener or somebody on Spotify. For example, the CEO of Spotify, is a different customer than the people that we would make music that would go on to Spotify, if it makes sense. So what we've been trying to do, my job, is to try to identify the customer on the label side and how to best get them the music that they need. And the way that we do that is we create a brand called 2CAN Sounds, which is the latest, that brand from last year, which is just dance, indie disco, and house music focused out of Brooklyn, New York. And so this was created because it utilizes what we do really well, which is the white glove service and the self-commission works, the environment at the studio. And we can create great stuff for people that love dance music. And French Horn Rebellion, being in French Horn Rebellion, we have the unique ability to produce, write, create dance music, which we've been doing for years. So that's how, 2CAN Sounds was created, just because we looked at what are we really, really good at? What can we do better than anybody else? And so we created a public-facing label that utilizes all of our strengths. So now we've got 2CAN Sounds. It's been going for a year. That's basically what I do. Most of my work right now is working on 2CAN Sounds and creating co-writes and doing productions for other artists. So like this year, we've done work with, like I said, Purple Disco Machine, the Knox. We've done a track with, we've been working with, can't remember right now, Yuxek, Jean Tonique, Louis LaRoche, Jacques Renault. And we're developing a lot of local talent in Brooklyn, going out to the shows, going out to Mood Ring, going out to Bossa Nova Civic Club, inviting people to the studio, inviting them into our collaboration process, trying to fill in the holes for people that are amazing DJs, the best DJs in the city. In my opinion, we've been able to sign some of the best, absolutely top-notch DJs in the city, and helping them enable their vision, similar to what would happen with NBC or something that would happen with Just Cause 4, is how do we make music that's going to work best for the project? And so it's the same service, it's the same environment, but now it's creating really awesome music for people to listen to and enjoy, and to hang out on Sunday or hang out and maybe play video games and listen to music, or wherever people enjoy music, and trying to create the most emotionally authentic, best stuff that we can do with these DJs and artists in the city. And it's been growing rapidly, which is really exciting. And we've been able to launch some new projects, rather than, we have a balance obviously between artists that are more well-established, but also brand new artists that are making their very debut releases. So that's the overview if we were in person, we could have a Q&A, but you can also get in touch with me on email. You can find us easily online if you look for Toucan Sounds or YouTooCanWoo. I'm happy to answer any questions or talk with you a bit about any of the, I know it's a bit confusing how this is all put together, but I'd be happy to answer any questions. And wish we were all together at Indie Week, but it'll be a Zoom week. So it should be a lot of fun. And thank you very much.